and said all of a sudden they were not in a supernatural funk.
And
A lot of pressure for you tonight.
well, they're playing the eventual NFC champion.
Right.
So I honestly, I think the answer to your question is it depends how they lose. All right, I think Green Bay is going to win.
Okay.
I'm picking them. That's my Super Bowl pick. But if they lose a close game and, the offense looks pretty good, I think they can withstand that. I know it'll be 7 of 8, but they can withstand that. If they get blown out and Jordan Love just picks them apart, then I think that's when Sirianni's in trouble. And then the following week, they got they got a winnable game, or Atlanta actually, but still a very winnable game.
Yeah.
If that's when Sirianni's really in trouble. And if they lose to Atlanta as well, then his job is in trouble. But I think a close loss, coach, they can withstand that and they can be all right.
So you think if they go 0-2, he could actually be whacked that early? Seems. I mean,
I don't know if it'll be
8 of the
that
last
early.
9.
I know it's a supernatural funk, but that's really early.
Well, that's the thing too. Are they listless in this game against Green Bay like they were last year for the last 6 games?
Well, I don't know,
That's
man. They are
something to
very
watch
bummed
too.
out about where the game's being
But
played.
there has been new video out, some enthusiasm.
Okay,
from
all right.
it.
I do agree with you in the sense that if they lose, it depends on how they lose, and things were so dysfunctional, and there was just lethargic and disinterested and all those negative adjectives that you can tie to the end of their season, uninspired. So if any traces of that come up in this game, or if the game does get out of hand, or not even out of hand, but let's say they're behind and you don't see the fight through the fourth quarter, that to me is indicative of a bigger problem, and it may not lead to him being fired after 2 games, but it's probably going to be something that eventually leads to it.
You guys are talking, I think, kind of more abstract things, which I think are smart. Here's my concern if I'm Philly today. So the Packers' big move this offseason was they changed out defensive coordinators. They bring in Jeff Hafley from Boston College. Evidently, he ran, listen, I'm not going to act like I watched a ton of Boston College, but everyone that's talked about it has explained, ran a lot of single high, very aggressive defense there, and that's what he's ran there. The word on the Eagles all offseason has been Jalen Hurts can't handle the blitz. That's what happened to him. They got figured out. They can't handle the blitz. So are the Packers just going to say, well, you lost 6 of 7 games in part because your defense was awful, but also in part because your offense got figured out. We're going to make you prove you have a counterpunch. And by the way, we're going to make you prove that either your young center or you, Jalen, can call out the protections. That's so I think Philly is one of the most overvalued teams by Vegas, the general public, and the media this year. No one has properly explained to me why the supernatural funk is over. No one has properly explained to me why the defense, which was bottom 5 across the board last year, is now going to be good. Like, do I think it's going to be bottom 5? No. But do I think it could improve to bottom 10? Yeah, I do. No one has explained to me how they are adequately replacing Jason Kelce. It's just they're the Eagles. Okay, we'll see. Now, the flip side is I think the Packers are a touch overvalued as well, so that's why this wasn't one of my picks. But I think the Eagles are in significant trouble on a lot of fronts, and if they play a bad football game today, they are under the most pressure of any team in the league this week to play well because of how last season.
But Nick, they did do a lot to address the secondary. They did bring in Vic, and Vic's impact isn't necessarily like Wade Phillips, where Wade the first year it's always this gigantic jump, but there should be a jump, and there was a lot of dysfunction in terms of who was calling the defense last year. Then they made a change mid-season, so I think having someone like Vic in there to give them stability will be valuable. And on the offensive side, who knows whether the change at offensive coordinator is going to make a huge difference, but you'd like to think that makes some.
Okay, listen. Okay. I don't want to just keep repeating it, but I guess this will be the last time because this is now we're finally officially entering the season. But this idea that the Eagles are grossly overrated and overvalued by Vegas and fans and media is just absurd. And he's saying no one is explaining to me why the defense is going to be better. Well, they got better players and they got a better coordinator. We don't have to complicate it any more than that. They got better players, they got a better coordinator. That will be a better defense. How are they going to fix their offense? They upgraded, got better players, and got a better coordinator. Therefore, the offense is going to be better. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. So I just don't understand this massive doubt. Now, on the flip side, I agree with what Brew is saying, and I guess Mangini to a degree as well, in terms of that the Eagles need to play good. I don't think a loss here would be devastating. I don't think it would be absolutely devastating. They're going to try to make it like it would be devastating, but the Eagles just have to play a really good game. Because I think the Packers are a really great team as well. So I think if the Packers beat the Eagles, right, the score ends up being kind of like the Chiefs, 27-20 or something. Like, I don't think that would be the biggest deal. Now, if Jalen Hurts throws for 2 interceptions and he can't beat the blitz and he looks uncomfortable, yeah, like people are going to really run with that. But again, look what Patrick Mahomes threw an interception and it could have been 2 interceptions. Now, granted, someone like Mahomes has built up a tremendous amount of goodwill and equity. So, he could have a 5 interception game and no one's going to be sounding the alarm, right? That is the benefit when you keep winning and when you win Super Bowls, of course. Jalen Hurts does not have that. But to me, I'm just trying to highlight that if even someone as great and as elite and truly all-time great as Patrick Mahomes can still throw some interceptions and not look great in week 1, we can't expect lesser quarterbacks to look just perfect, and anything less than perfect means that they're not good, right? And that's going to be my issue with trying to draw too many conclusions and putting too much pressure on just week 1. I think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are going to be really great, and I think they're going to show that they're really great tonight. Is there going to be some rust? For sure, right? Are there going to be some problems? For sure. It's going to happen. It's football. It's week 1. The Chiefs did not look perfect. The Ravens did not look perfect. I don't think any team is going to look perfect. But the way how Nick is building this up is that the amount of pressure on the Eagles is massive. And like he said, it's the most important game. It's more important for the Eagles than any other team to play great. And I just don't think that's fair. You can't expect a team to do something that any other team can't. Nick thinks the Chiefs are like the greatest team in the history of the world, and yet they did not play perfectly. So why would you expect the Eagles to have to play perfectly? So my concern is that any issue, any sack, any turnover, any issue, any blown coverage is going to be magnified to just like the next level. Now listen, the Eagles have to prove that they are competent. They have to prove that offense is humming along. Jalen Hurts has to prove that he looks comfortable. He does. I'm not saying that he can just play bad and we can just toss it away to the side, because I don't agree with that either. But it's also very real that the Packers are just a dominant team this year. Like, if Brew's right and the Packers win the NFC, right? Well, then it's like, well, that's a brutal first game for the Eagles, right? I mean, like, that's just the way it goes. So you just can't lean too heavily. The Chiefs even lost against the Lions in week 1, right? And it was like people were trying to sound the alarm on that, and yet they ended up winning it all, of course. So you just can't overreact to just one game, especially week 1. But that is where I'm kind of in agreement, though, with all of them to a degree. But because I do think, though, that the Eagles burned up their goodwill from last season. And now it really is like they do need to show that they are ready, that they are a better team than last year, that their defense has upgraded, their offense has upgraded, that Jalen is healthy, that there's some imagination and a good, solid offensive game plan, because it doesn't seem like they had a single game where they had a good offensive game plan, at least against the good teams. And the Eagles have to prove that they are that. I don't like to say they don't have to win. Obviously, it goes a long way, but I just think that they have to show that they've upgraded and that they've righted this ship. And again, it doesn't mean that though they have to win every single game from here on out. But what they can't have a game like what they had against the Cowboys. They can't have a game like what they had against the 49ers, or even to a lower degree against the Seattle Seahawks or the Giants, where you were just like, what the heck am I watching? And they can't have a similar game to what they had on week 1 against the Patriots, where they end up winning, but it was clear, like, they won, but like they could have lost. Because the Eagles can't have a game like that either. They can't have a game where they win, but they definitely could have lost, where it was like kind of like, you're pretty lucky that Jordan Love threw missed a wide receiver wide open or threw like, a perfect interception that was then, a pick six. Like, that wasn't really anything the Eagles did special. It was just a gift. They can't have that. Again, they'll take it and it's part of football, but the Eagles have to rebuild up their reputation. That is a fact. That is what happens when you end the season that you as in the way that you did last season. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm incredibly excited for this game. Making this video and posting it like literally just a couple hours before, so it's going to be really interesting to see. This take is going to age very quickly, so we will see what it looks like. But yeah, this is week 1 football. There's going to be some problems, going to be some fun, going to be some excitement. At the end of the day, I'm just rooting for a really good game. That's what we got with the Ravens versus the Chiefs. Just a really good, exciting game coming down to the wire. So hopefully we get something similar with the Eagles versus the Packers. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? How bad would an Eagles loss be? And what would a win do, if anything? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.